what if some of the biggest celebrity weddings in the world happened, and the public never got to see the pictures? No leaked album, no perfectly staged magazine, no hundreds of wedding photos flooding Instagram the next morning, just a wedding and then silence. Langed for celebrities, keeping something private sounds almost impossible. Their relationships are followed by millions of people. Their outfits become headlines. A single photograph can spread across social media within seconds. And yet, some of Hollywood's biggest stars have managed to keep one of the most photographed moments of their lives almost completely away from the public. And now Taylor Swift is part of that conversation. Taylor has spent most of her career under an extraordinary level of public attention. Fans analyze everything from her lyrics to her outfits, her friendships, her relationships, and even the smallest details in photographs. So when it comes to something as massive as a wedding, the natural assumption is that the internet would eventually see everything. But that's not necessarily what happens. Taylor isn't the only celebrity who has chosen privacy over publicity when it comes to wedding photos. Kirsten Zendaya's wedding story is a perfect example of why celebrity privacy can become a story in itself. Blends. For years, fans have followed Zendaya and Tom Holland's relationship almost like a Hollywood movie. They met through Spider-Man, became one of the most recognizable young celebrity couples in the world, and eventually faced constant speculation about whether they had secretly taken the next step. But here's the interesting part. The less they revealed, the more people wanted to know. Instead of turning their private moments into constant social media content, Zendaya and Holland have generally kept their relationship away from the spotlight. And that becomes especially significant when the conversation turns to weddings. Because when millions of people are waiting for photographs, not releasing them can actually create an even bigger mystery. There is no giant photo dump. No carefully planned series of wedding portraits. No endless behind-the-scenes content for fans to analyze. And that creates something celebrities rarely have anymore. A moment the internet doesn't control. But Zendaya isn't the only major star associated with keeping wedding details private. Then there's Kirsten Dunst. Dunst has spent decades in Hollywood, growing up in an industry where photographers and entertainment outlets documented major parts of her life. Yet, when it came to her own wedding, she didn't turn the event into a massive public spectacle. That contrast is important because celebrities today have an unusual choice. They can use their wedding as a media event, selling exclusive photographs, sharing the dress, hosting behind-the-scenes moments, and allowing fans into the celebration. Or they can do the exact opposite. They can close the doors, no audience, no instant reveal. To explain every detail. And for some stars, that privacy appears to be worth far more than the publicity. But there's another name that makes this conversation even more interesting. Taylor Swift. Because when the biggest pop star on the planet becomes part of a discussion about private wedding photographs, fans naturally start asking if Taylor ever has a wedding, will the world actually get to see it? And considering how intensely the public follows her personal life, that question could become one of the biggest celebrity mysteries of all. Imagine Taylor Swift walking down the aisle. For most people, that would simply be a wedding. For Taylor Swift, it could become a global media event before the ceremony even finished. Millions of fans would want to know where it happened, what she wore, who attended, what the venue looked like, and, perhaps most importantly, what the wedding photographs looked like. That's what makes the idea of keeping those photographs private so fascinating. Yep. Taylor has spent years turning personal experiences into public art while still maintaining strict boundaries around parts of her private life. Her audience may know an enormous amount about her career, but that doesn't mean they have access to everything happening behind closed doors. And weddings represent perhaps the ultimate test of that boundary. Because, unlike a concert or a red carpet appearance, a wedding isn't created for an audience. It's personal. And that's exactly why some celebrities have chosen not to share every detail. And then there is also another factor, the value of exclusivity. In Hollywood, photographs can become extremely valuable. A wedding photograph isn't just a picture when it involves one of the world's most recognizable celebrities. It can become a major media story. That means keeping the images private can be a powerful decision. No immediate headlines, obedience, no endless social media reactions, no strangers analyzing the dress, the guests, or the ceremony. Perhaps most importantly, no pressure to perform for the public on a day that was never supposed to be about the public. Bond. That's the strategy we've seen from different stars in different ways. Band. Zendaya has maintained a remarkably private personal life despite enormous fame. Kirsten Dunst has also kept much of her personal world away from the constant Hollywood spotlight. And Taylor Swift has repeatedly demonstrated that she understands exactly how powerful privacy can be. But there's a fascinating contradiction here. The more private a celebrity becomes, the more curious people can get. Banda. If Taylor shared hundreds of wedding photographs, fans would analyze them for days. But if she shared nothing, that silence could become an even bigger story. And that brings us to the final question. Why are fans so obsessed with seeing celebrity weddings in the first place? Because maybe this isn't really about photographs. Maybe it's about feeling like we're witnessing a moment that was never meant for us. Maybe the most surprising thing about celebrity weddings isn't what stars show us, it's what they choose not to show. For years, Hollywood has operated on a simple formula: the bigger the celebrity, the bigger the spectacle, red carpets, exclusive interviews, magazine covers, professional photographs, behind-the-scenes footage, but weddings don't have to follow that formula. Taylor Swift, Zendaya, Kirsten Dunst, and other stars represent a different approach. Some of the most meaningful moments can remain completely personal. And think about how unusual that is today. We're living in an era where people share everything. Engagements become Instagram announcements. Wedding dresses appear online within minutes. Guests post videos from inside ceremonies. And sometimes, a private celebration becomes a trending topic before the newlyweds have even had time to process the day themselves. And celebrity weddings take that pressure to another level. One photograph can generate millions of views. One leaked image can become international news. One unidentified detail can create weeks of speculation. So keeping wedding photographs private isn't necessarily about hiding something. Sometimes it's simply about owning the moment. And that's the real reason this story is bigger than Taylor Swift. It's about a growing number of celebrities deciding that not every important moment needs to become content. Zendaya and Tom Holland have demonstrated how powerful that approach can be. Kirsten Dunst has also maintained a level of privacy despite spending decades in one of the world's most photographed industries. And if Taylor Swift ever decides to keep her own wedding photographs private, it wouldn't necessarily be surprising. In fact, it might be one of the few things the world's most closely watched pop star could keep entirely for herself. And that's what makes the idea so fascinating. Fans may want the dress, They may want the venue. They may want the first official photograph, but celebrities don't necessarily owe the public any of it. And because sometimes the most valuable photograph isn't the one everyone gets to see, it's the one that stays private, and perhaps that's the ultimate luxury of fame, not having the world watch every moment, but still being able to choose which moments belong only to you, you know? So, if Taylor Swift ever gets married and decides not to release a single wedding photograph, would you respect her privacy, or would you desperately want to see what she wore? Let me know in the comments.